Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining a little bit early. We're almost at 5 o'clock, and I see quite a few folks are already here, but we'll just give it another minute or so to let more CSC members join before we officially get started.
Buenas noches a todos, bienvenidos. Gracias por ingresar temprano. Nos quedan unos cuantos minutos y vemos que ya hay algunas personas aquí, pero vamos a dar un tiempo para que otras personas más ingresen para iniciar la reunión.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us again. My name is Liz, and I am one of the Harder & Company facilitators. I'm joined here tonight by my colleague, Amy. Before we open it up for our welcome and introductions, let us just take a few minutes to set up our interpretation, and then we'll go through our logistics and housekeeping slides. So I would like to invite our Linguistica team, I believe Tanya, to walk us through those instructions.
Thank you, Liz. Buenas tardes a todos, bienvenidos. Les recordamos que como siempre tenemos la interpretación simultánea al español para que ustedes puedan escuchar a la junta en su idioma preferido. Si ingresaron con una computadora van a ver el icono de un mundo en la parte de abajo. Ahí pueden escoger su idioma de español, hacen un clic en el globo y seleccionan español. También les invitamos a que seleccionen silenciar el audio original para que puedan escuchar nada más al intérprete y no dos voces a la vez. Si ustedes ingresaron con un teléfono móvil o con una tableta, van a tocar su pantalla, van a buscar los tres puntitos, ya sea en la parte de arriba o de abajo, seleccionen donde diga interpretación de idioma, después seleccionen español, nuevamente silenciar el audio original y por último el botón que diga done, listo o finalizado para que ya nos puedan escuchar. Ahora voy a dar mis instrucciones en inglés. Welcome everyone. This is just a reminder that as usual, we are providing simultaneous Spanish interpretation for this meeting. If you're a monolingual English speaker, we do encourage you to please select the English channel. That way you can hear that communication from Spanish into English simultaneously. If you're joining with a computer, you will see a globe at the bottom of your screen. Please click on the globe and select the English channel. If you're joining with a cell phone or a tablet, you need to tap your screen, find the three dots either on top of your menu or at the bottom, select language interpretation, select English, and then select done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tanya. I'll pause for a moment to see, is the interpretation set up or is anyone having any issues? Please let us know. Thumbs up. Okay, thank you. And again, as part of our roles as your facilitators, we work behind the scenes to take attendance, offer technical assistance and general support to everyone to ensure we can all engage fully in tonight's meeting. So if at any point you are having trouble with the Zoom or interpretation, or if you have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to myself or to Amy. So moving along, on my screen, you are seeing the renaming conventions, and this is important for our attendance tracking and stipend distribution process. So we ask that if you are a member of the CSC, please indicate that in your Zoom name. And if you are also a resident, we ask that you include an R in your Zoom name. On this slide, another reminder about our renaming conventions. If you are a member of the public, we also ask that you put a P in front of your name. And also if you are representing another agency, it's always helpful if you put that in your Zoom name as well, just so we know who is here and participating. So here you are seeing our virtual meeting etiquette. We ask that everyone stays on mute unless you are planning to speak. If you are joining by the phone only, you can press *6 to mute and unmute yourself. If you have any questions or thoughts that you would like to share, we also ask that you raise your Zoom hand. And if you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. Also on this slide, we have a reminder for residents in our stipend program. We ask that you stay on for at least 75% of the meeting, which is 90 minutes out of our 2 hours together. And on this slide, this is a review of your group agreements, which we read aloud at the start of every meeting. So everyone here has agreed to help achieve the meeting goals by focusing on solutions, opportunities, and productive dialogue. We want to make sure that we're mindful of creating space for everyone to participate. If you tend to not participate as much, we really do encourage you to take a chance and raise your hand. We would really love to hear from you. We also ask for everyone to be kind and respectful, knowing that it is okay to disagree as long as you do so with respect and empathy. In these meetings, we also agreed to stay on point and on time. So we ask that you try to keep your comments brief to allow everyone enough time to participate. Next, we all agreed to attack the problem and not the person. And then finally, we all have agreed to seek common ground. Building consensus and finding shared values will help us all achieve the best results. And so here is the agenda for this evening. As a reminder, these agenda topics are representative of those that are requested by CSC members. This happens both in our CSC meetings and also our agenda setting meetings. I'll review our agenda real quick, and then I see we have a hand up, and we'll go to you, Gustavo. So we'll have our welcome and introductions. Then we will review our action item tracker. Then we'll move on to our SERP incentive measure discussion. We will then have an annual report update, and then finish off with our usual standing updates and wrapping up with public comment. And so I'll stop sharing my screen. And Gustavo, I see your hand is raised. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. I don't want to make a big deal about it, but I want to mention what happened last meeting in terms of the share agreements. When I was initially sharing, I think I was not, I feel like I was not allowed to share my thinking, and I believe it was you, Liz, that I was trying to finalize my comment and just try to stop me, and I just want to, mention that I noticed that, And I know that it's not the norm, stopping any of us from participating. So I noticed that, it was, to me, it made me feel, disrespectful. Again, I don't want to make a big issue about it, but I want to mention it that I think the share agreements apply to all of us, including you, the facilitators. I just want to mention that. And I don't know if that was an agenda trying to stop me from sharing, but I think we need to understand that, I understand that the district have an agenda. And, but also, sometimes, we, the residents, have different ideas, and, sometimes we cannot, we don't agree to all the district's proposals. I think, in my opinion, that's fair, because also for us, the community, we don't get everything we want to see, in this process, and we understand, that's part of it. But so I just wanted to mention that, in the future, please, be respectful of everybody, including me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gustavo. And that has been on my mind personally, and I just want to appreciate you for bringing that up here and now and modeling that for others who are also in this meeting. We do really want to hear that from you, and just personally, I do apologize for that. And it was, of course, not my intention to make you feel disrespected. And just from, as a facilitator, it can be a little tricky trying to balance keeping us on time and also allowing the community to have their voice. And yeah, just want you all to know that I really do value your voices. And yeah, I will take that feedback in, and moving forward, well, yeah, be sure not to interrupt folks and recognize that, again, this is your meeting and you all have the lived experience. And yeah, I will be sure to continue to make space for that. So yeah, thank you, Gustavo, for mentioning that.
Yeah, thank you, Liz.
Yeah. And I see another hand from Mario. Go ahead.
Yeah, but it's like Gustavo was saying that, yeah, last meeting was pretty, pretty hard. We seen a lot of red flags and stuff. And I feel that we should understand that we're trying to have change. We're trying to have change on everything, on pesticides and everything what we're doing. And if we try and you're putting a stop on it, and they are not realizing, what are we doing, that we ain't gonna succeed what we want. And that's what, like how Gustavo said, he was trying to explain things that, to make change and try and fix up the problem. And I feel that if we speak out, I mean, there's no time limit. It's the point is the point. And if we want to have change, we need change. That's how I want to say.
Thank you, Mario, for sharing that. And yeah, I think a lot of other CSC members in the meeting also agree with what you both have shared, and always encourage others to continue giving us this feedback and reminding us of the importance of why we all make time to be here. And yeah, it's always a learning process, even for us as your facilitators. And just, again, appreciate you all kind of trusting us to, give us this feedback. So it is appreciated and heard. There will be more opportunities to continue this conversation. So again, it doesn't have to be right now. If you would like to give us more feedback as facilitators, we do have an email that you can contact, and you can drop that in the chat as well if others do not have it. If no other CSC members have any thoughts that they would like to share, I'm happy to move us forward to our welcome and introductions. We have our two co-leads who I think I'm looking in the boxes. I'm not sure if Cesar or Bianca are here tonight, but if either of you are and I'm just not seeing you, I would love to invite you to share any opening remarks for tonight's meeting. Again, I'm not sure if either have made it yet, but I'll just pause. Okay. Yeah, I don't think they're here right now, but we can move to maybe some opening remarks from Ryan from the Air District.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, we definitely hear you, and I do appreciate what Liz said about the need to have space and to give opportunity to have those discussions, and we fully believe in that as well. That's why we're here. Is to take that critical feedback and to do a lot of listening and to pose questions for you to get the necessary feedback and information from the steering committee. And so definitely not perfect, and we just continue to strive to work together to improve this process. And ultimately that's our goal, is hopefully that everybody sees that there's an effort for constant improvement, and you'll continue to see that. But that's not to say, despite our best efforts, there may be instances where it's not perfect, and if it's not, let us know, and we will definitely take that and look to make necessary changes. So that being said, really appreciate everybody being here tonight. It's the seasons are turning a little bit. It's cooling off a little bit. It's a nice time of the year, and so just thanks everybody, and I think we have a good meeting tonight, and we have some partners that are going to be here to provide information that the steering committee was asking for, and so once again looking to hear from all of you. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And yes, we have another packed agenda and a lot of, I think, exciting updates that will be shared tonight, and opportunities to really hear feedback from the CSC. Before we jump into all of that, we do have our review of the action items tracker. So again, this is to help facilitate transparency and accountability. Our team and the Air District continuously update the action item tracker to ensure that the community's requests are documented and that you're all able to stay informed and track the progress that's being made towards implementing your suggestions. As a reminder, at the end of every meeting, we share the action items out loud and encourage any of you to add any that were missed and that should be tracked. And so now I will pass it to, I believe, Eric from the Air District to walk us through some of these updates.
Hi, good afternoon, folks. It's good to be back, and really enjoy seeing you all. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Oh, okay. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Here we go. Can you all see the action item tracker? Okay, great. Thank you, Liz. All right. So as always, we'll just go ahead and give a little quick high-level overview of how this works, just the online version. So we have 4 sections: the in progress, complete, and ongoing, and commented. So you could click on any of these sections and they will take you straight to whatever sections have been changed or whatever sections you'd like to see. So we just have 2 action items in our in progress section. So during our last CSC meeting, we did have a great discussion on moving forward heavy duty trucks projects. We do plan on bringing this measure back because I know the CSC had great comments and we had a lot of feedback. So we just want to make sure the CSC is prepped for that. And then our next action item is the CSC is invited to review the draft annual report. So we did send an email about that today, and we will go into further details later in this meeting, but we're excited to share that with you. And I'll go ahead and open it up for questions. We just had these two action items. Alrighty, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen, and I'll go ahead and pass it back to you, Liz. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Those quick updates. If there are no questions or comments from the CSC, and I don't see any, we can move forward to the SERP incentive measure discussion. So for this next agenda item, we're going to hear directly from the Air District and their partners about some exciting updates for a few different SERP incentive measures. So we'll start with the urban greening and vegetative barriers measures. The Air District will be looking for some feedback and ideas from the CSC about the best ways to implement this within your community. After that discussion, I will shift to hearing about the passenger vehicle repair and replacement measures, and again, have some discussion and feedback from the CSC for that. And so now I'm happy to pass it to the Air District, I believe Ryan, to get us started.
It is me. Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen. It's always like the first time I've done this, so I apologize. Can everybody see that? All right, excellent. All right. So like Liz said, we are going to start off tonight's discussion talking about urban greening and vegetative barriers. Just real quick on the topic, urban greening is, planting the trees, and it's a good way to both reduce emissions in the air. At the same time, it has the ability for reducing temperatures in the areas that the trees are planted. So it has multiple benefits to it. And then vegetative barriers are more trees that you build along sensitive areas and sources of pollution, and they can block pollutants from reaching homes, schools, things like that. And so this isn't the first time we talked about it. We talked about it a few months ago. We do have this was a process that we had to get approved by the California Air Resources Board. We had to submit a community identified incentive project plan to them. They did approve it. And so, now we're at the stage where we're looking to identify some partners that can, work with us on doing some of this work. And so we'd love to hear some feedback on that from all of you. So, specifically, we're looking for, do you know organizations that have historically done some of this work in the area? That have been doing urban greening plantings, or their businesses or other areas or places that would benefit from if there was to have a vegetative barrier installed. And so what we go through is it's called a request for proposal. And so it's basically a process where you open it up and you let people that are eligible apply for it. And there's a big component to that is reaching out and doing outreach to people that may be interested. So cities, counties, Caltrans, or some that have been discussed in the past. But we're also looking for feedback on other organizations that we should be reaching out to see what their interest or ability is to participate in this. And so, we want to have cast the net out as far and wide as we can, and hopefully get a lot of people interested in doing this. And get those projects going in the community. I know that's something that was very highly prioritized, and there was a lot of interest by the community, and so we definitely want to see these start taking in place. The only thing is there may be one final step, which it may require us to go to the governing board to open up the program. We should know that pretty soon, and we will definitely keep the committee updated on whether or not we do have to for this particular program. So just some overview of what's in the community emissions reduction program itself, kind of how we run the programs and what was approved by the California Air Resources Board. So there was a funding amount for urban greening at $500,000. And then for vegetative barriers, it was also $500,000. And I talked about the request for proposal to identify partners for those programs. So a couple of the questions I've kind of already covered. Do you know any organizations the district can reach out to for urban greening and vegetative barriers in your community? And so at this point, I'll stop sharing and open it up for discussion. Good.
Thank you, Ryan. I see a couple hands up. We can start with Emma.
Hello, sorry. Sandra usually staffs the meetings, but can we get a refresher as to like where residents have prioritized locations in the past? Because I think that would determine who we would want to reach out to and like which of the areas are more of concern when it comes to pollution. So I think we could start there if folks want to mention something. If not, or if we have some prior data.
We do. Eric, can you? I think we did it on Social Pinpoint, and I think you have the link to it. Can you drop that link in the chat?
Yeah, that's a great point and suggestion. It looks like Eric has dropped that in the chat, and maybe while folks take a look at that, we can go to Gustavo.
Yeah, I got a call from the district early today, and I think I gave the feedback, some of ideas, but I want to share it here with everybody. I think as Emma mentioned, we already submitted some, suggestions for areas that need the green barriers, especially. And what I was mentioning is that I think in chapter, I think we are in kind of struggling to find applicants, agencies or organizations that want to develop these projects. And I was also thinking that, there are, growers neighbor to the communities, like, for example, in Arvin, Comanche, in one side have the residential areas, the schools, and all of that. And just across the street, we have the orchards. And I think some of the images that were submitted to the district include that, as well as in Lamont, just an example, leaving Lamont, from Lamont to going to the 58, the orchards, I think is almost in the close to the corner of Panama Road and 184. There are, similar things, on one side there are businesses and the other side are orchards. And I was mentioning earlier, to the staff that called me, is there a way to maybe develop a list of kind of database of who those growers are? Because I think it will be good to engage them, because I think one of the issues I've seen in chapter is, not only an organization wanting to do it, but, if, let's say that, we find an organization willing to commit, to submit an application, But still, if it's an organization that is not the owner of the land, that organization will have to go through the process of, getting the permits from the owner. And if there is, water lines underground or electricity lines above. So all those things, I think it may be good idea here for Arvin Lamont to, to do the outreach, who those growers are and outreach to them. And I think several of us, at the community are willing to, if there are, you want to set meetings or, participate in the conversations, we are open to have those conversations with the growers. But I think that's one area, to trying to find information. And I was suggesting maybe the ag commissioner can help us with gathering that data, because I'm assuming those growers, apply for pesticide applications. So I believe it may not be difficult for the ag commissioner to do that. And I think after the last, back and forth we had with the commissioner, I think from the county, I think he was instructed to have better collaboration with the community. I think this will be a good sign for us, to see that the ag commissioner wants to better collaborate with the communities. And that's something that may not be difficult to do that. So that, I think that's an area that we will appreciate, from the ag commissioner to do that. So that's one option that I was suggesting. The other one is, let me see if I say it correctly. I think it's Bear Mountain Parks and Recs. It's a district, Parks District in Lamont, that they may be willing to apply for that, because I think they are kind of set up for that. So they may be another entity, local entity in Lamont to apply. And I think Christine is here from the city of Arvin. I think if the city of Arvin applies, I think that will be also great. So those were few of the ideas that I shared earlier, and I wanted to share it with everybody.
So, hey, Gustavo, on the vegetative barriers along ag, were you looking at like corridors like the Giorgio, Buena Vista, Comanche? Is that the area, like the main areas where you're looking to have those?
I think those are some of the great areas to start, Ryan, and also, the 184, which I think includes, most of Lamont, and also, I know the Leadership Council support.
Yeah, weed patch.
The hilltop area. So I think that will cover pretty much all the boundaries at the 617. So I think that will be one of the main areas to focus.
Yeah, we were thinking about on the highways, we reached out to Caltrans about that. They, like, some of that is easements, and so they would, potentially have authority over that versus, the farmers if it's on the easement. So there may be, some opportunity to work with Caltrans or someone like that. So the great ideas. I love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think Caltrans have a lot of rights there. So I think it's also great to engage them here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And there's another hand up from Mario.
Yeah, yeah, just wanted to mention, they had a smog check, I think this month or something like that. And I was just wondering if you guys could do a smog check right here at Lamont and Arvin. Because sometimes some people cannot take their cars over there in Bakersfield.
I love it, Mario. When you're teeing up the next conversation, we're going to go in depth into that, and we hear you on that. So we're going to talk about a few different options and get all that feedback from you.
Yeah, I would like to see that. Because Arvin is kind of far from Bakersfield, and Lamont, people is not aware of these programs, because I think there was Gosset Bed is put it on the Lamont community, and I seen it, and you know, it's a good idea. It's in Bakersfield, always been in Bakersfield, but I feel that we should have it over here in Lamont and Arvin,
Mhm.
because a lot of people, they don't even want to drive the car because they don't got no tags or, you know, or something. Because, you
Yeah.
know, paying a ticket is kind of tough.
Yeah, well,
And then-
and we have the right people here tonight, and so that's gonna be the very next topic that we're gonna talk about, Mario. You know, we have, you know, our manager in the program, and then we have a few partners that are gonna talk about those opportunities. But just real quick, wanting to, you know, kind of wrap up the conversation about vegetative barriers and urban greening. You know, if there was anybody else that had any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I see. So we do have a couple more hands. Okay, we can start with Maria.
Hola, buenas tardes, soy María Estela. Solamente yo quiero dar mi comentario regresando a las barreras vegetativas, ¿verdad? Lo que dijo el señor Gustavo, yo creo que está bien buscar el apoyo del Comisión de Agricultura, de todas las agencias que nos puedan ayudar, ya que sí son muy importantes poner esas barreras vegetativas en nuestras comunidades por la contaminación. También estoy viendo a Cristín de aquí del distrito de Arvin, y yo pienso que igual también hablando con los rancheros, los dueños de las tierras, para que vean que la comunidad no queremos nada malo, queremos trabajar con ellos y que nos permitan poner esas barreras vegetativas. Yo creo que sería trabajar en conjunto y hacer esa unión de personas, ¿no? Para llegar a unas soluciones y buenas para todos, para que nos ayuden y podamos poner esas barreras vegetativas que tanto necesitamos por la contaminación. Solamente era mi comentario de que estoy de acuerdo con el señor Gustavo y pues apoyar nosotros como comunidad en lo que se necesite y seguir adelante con este programa que estamos.
Yeah, thank you for those comments and hearing more support for engaging with the Ag Commissioner and having more partnerships. And this is, yeah, one of those issues where really coming together does benefit everyone in the community. And I see Christine, your hand is up.
Hi, everybody. So for resources for like contractors who can do this kind of work, there is Davy Research, Davy Tree Company, Arbor Pro. There's another organization down in Bakersfield that I know of that might be willing to assist with the tree plantings. One thing I wanted to bring up is that if we're going to plant trees, we must have a portion of that allocation for irrigation, because we don't want to plant trees and not have a source of water. And Arvin, Lamont, those areas can be very dry. We want to assure the survival rate of the trees. So those are the two resources, plus I believe I have a third. I just would have to look it up offline. And then secondly, the city would be willing to assist, but we need clarity on exactly where they want those vegetative barriers to be placed. And another option that I think helps with outreach and community involvement is, I'm thinking that maybe, at least in the area that, owners of homes in Arvin, Lamont may have the opportunity to get like certified arborist training from arborists on how to plant and tree care. And perhaps we could consider a tree giveaway where the CSC members and residents within the Arvin community, and of course Lamont and the outside areas that are included in this project, could possibly be educated and have the opportunity to plant some of these trees in their own backyards. I think that helps a lot in terms of ownership of the program and, ownership of the trees. And it also assures the survival of the trees. So that's my immediate thoughts. There are a lot of areas within Arvin that haven't been developed yet. And so the difficulty is if we don't want to plant a tree and then if we don't have a sidewalk in there yet, having to come back and make changes, right? We want to assure the survival of those trees. I do know that we have DiGiorgio Park that desperately needs trees. But that would have to be done in conjunction with irrigation. Parks and Recs in Arvin really only manages the pool at DiGiorgio Park, and the rest is the city of Arvin. So I think we need a little more further discussion, and I think it would be helpful to revisit the areas that the residents are considering so that we can have a refresher, since it's been a while since we looked at that. But those are my immediate thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Christine. And just want to note in the chat, Christine, Ryan asked if you could type in the names of the companies that you mentioned that could be potential partners.
Hey,
I
real quick,
also-
Liz, on the, just want to provide a little bit of clarification. So the request for proposal process that I talked about earlier, one of the components that had been in the other RFPs for the other communities does require that they identify irrigation sources and that there's a level of commitment to have that for years. So that definitely would have to be in something like this too, because like you said, it's not just about planting the trees, it's about keeping the trees alive and keeping them healthy. So that's a very important component. And I see, Emma had also dropped in a mention about that. So hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And I'll read Emma's comment out loud for the record. Emma mentioned for the irrigation issue, could we suggest an MOU before considering funding allocations to try to extend resources? And an MOU, I believe, is a memorandum of understanding. I think, yes, that sounds right. Yeah, thank you, Emma. And we have a couple more hands up, so we can go to Gabriela.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Gabriela Ojeda y soy residente de Arvin, y nada más para aclarar un poco acerca de nuestros pensamientos en las vallas vegetativas. Nosotros nos estamos refiriendo a vallas que van a estar bloqueando el polvo contaminado de los sembradíos de almendras y de los sembradíos de uvas. Nosotros tenemos identificadas ya las áreas que viene siendo una parte en Comanche que está enfrente de la escuela Vermontan, otra parte que está cerca de la Arvin High, que también hay almendras, y nosotros, nuestro plan es poner vallas vegetativas en donde que esté bloqueando todo el polvo que hace en la cosecha de la almendra y la fumigación de las uvas. Ese era nuestro plan inicial y me parece que solo eso quería yo clarificar.
Mija, disculpa que interrumpa, mi nombre es Joana González y no me deja meter a la junta ni en mi computadora ni en mi teléfono, y me vine para acá con mi hermana, estoy con la familia García, pero no sé por qué no me está dejando meter ni en mi teléfono ni en mi computadora. Disculpa que interrumpí. ¿Cómo?
No. Yeah, thank you for letting us know. We'll note that for attendance. And thank you for the comments about the locations, the specific locations. that the community has prioritized for those vegetative barriers. I think maybe one distinction we want to make, Ryan, is there are two separate measures. One is for vegetative barriers, which is what you were just mentioning, Gabriela, where it's meant to block certain pollutants. And then urban greening is similar, but I think it's more about maybe providing other community benefits. But there is a difference. Am I getting that correct, Ryan, between the vegetative barriers and the urban greening measures?
Yes, you're correct. And there's in the community emission reduction program, there is $500,000 for each program. So it's a total of $1 million for both of them.
Thank you, Ryan. And we have another hand up from Maria.
Sí, igualmente nada más quería aclarar ese punto también, de que al proyecto que nosotros nos referimos con barreras vegetativas es sobre eso, de la contaminación. Por eso fue que yo mencioné hablar con los rancheros y con el comisionado de Agricultura, para saber y hablar con los dueños de esas tierras, porque yo pienso que ellos podrían facilitarnos para regar esos árboles, porque se van a poner en la orilla de donde están las almendras o los sembradíos de uva. Entonces, esos árboles por lo regular, con la misma agua que se están regando las almendras o las uvas, las raíces de esos árboles se van a alimentar. Entonces, eso era nada más lo que yo quería aclarar, que por eso queremos juntarnos con estas personas, la comunidad, para llegar a un acuerdo y que nos pudieran ayudar. Ese era mi comentario que yo quería hacer. Gracias.
Thank you for adding that. And Gustavo, I see your hand is up as well.
Yeah, yes, I know that there may be on future conversations more detail about it, but so for both the vegetative barriers and the greening, which is, trees, in different places, there is a kind of a potential allocation for irrigation also. That's one question. And the other one is, and I haven't heard much either in the chapter project, because I think there is interest, at least in chapter, I haven't heard here yet, but in chapter there are some residents that want to plant trees, but it may be like 1, 2, or 3 at the max, in the front of their homes. How the district sees that idea?
Good question, Gustavo. Yeah, we're very open to a lot of different ideas, and so I'll draw upon the kind of what happened in Fresno. We were able to find a tree planting organization, and they actually partnered with an environmental justice organization, and they created an adopted tree program. And so it touches on what was discussed here about, as part of that, there's an education process for people that are going to be taking trees. It explains, where to plant it, how to take care of it, to make sure that tree, once it's planted, it grows and it thrives. And so that's a very exciting thing that was developed by the South Central Community Steering Committee. And so, yes, that can be funded. A concept like that could be done in the Arvin Lamont. It's just about finding the right partners to be able to do that. And so we would definitely be interested in looking for and reaching out and trying to find people that may be able to bring that through the request for proposals. The second part, the irrigation costs be included? Yes. They've been included in the other, the funding for that is a costs that can be funded through the AB 617 funds. And like I said, it's expected. You know, the maintenance and the irrigation has been part of the other contracts.
Thank you.
Thank you. And there's a question in the chat. So is it 500K per project for both Arvin and Lamont? So basically 250,000 for each project per community?
Yeah, I think so if I'm reading that right, Christine, she's asking, is there 250,000 for Lamont area, 250,000 for Arvin? And, you know, it's, I think what we've typically tried to do is that's how we've tried to you know, set funding aside to make sure that the benefits are being received equally. There's not anywhere written where it's going to be this much for this area, this much for the other area. I think we would open it up. We would do outreach to, you know, people hopefully from all the areas, and then, you know, try to get a good pool of people that really are able to do things that benefit all the areas.
Thank you, Ryan, and also want to recognize Jesus's comments. Weed Patch and Hilltop would also be splitting that, as they're also included. So there are more than just Arvin and Lamont within the boundary, and I think, yeah, as Ryan was mentioning, the community does get to prioritize how to distribute that across the whole boundary. And I see a hand from Bianca. Go ahead.
I'm sorry I missed the first part, but I was wondering, is it also going to have the requirements as the chapter where they have to do the maintenance for a couple years as part of the grant? Or I know that in the chapter we were asking if the tree dies, then who's responsible of that, things like that, or the maintenance. Would it be part of the funding from that piece of that lot of money that's going to be allocated for community, or by the grant? Those are like the two questions that I do have. And then also, if a company comes and applies for the grant, do they have to announce it to the community also? I did have it in chapter and I completely forgot about it, but I do have it here. If a nonprofit comes out, would the district share it out to the community members so they can at least know where those trees are being planted, so they could see the progress that are coming out of this grant?
Yes, to your questions, Bianca. Irrigation funding, maintenance would definitely be part of contracts. It would extend for you know, several years to make sure that the trees get the necessary support to grow and thrive. The second part, in regards to are we going to keep the community updated on projects? Absolutely. Similar to what we did in chapter about, you know, discussions about potential projects, and we would do the same thing for Arvin Lamont, and keeping people updated when we open up RFPs and requests for proposals. And, you know, as we get things in, we would definitely you know, share that information. And then hopefully people start seeing those trees. That's really the end goal, is to see these being planted, and you know, it'll be a reflection of the time and effort that this steering committee has put in when we start seeing the you know, the specific measures being started and implemented, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, thank you, Bianca, for those questions, and I'll just pause for a moment to see if there's anything else coming up for our CSC members about the vegetative barriers and urban greening before we start talking about the passenger vehicle programs. Oh, I'm seeing a hand. Yeah, Emma, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that we could kind of wrap it up with next steps as well. But before that, I wanted to mention that residents from Lamont and Fuller Acres have raised before issues with the refinery, right, and concerns about emissions from there. And I believe earlier in the process there was interest in asking for some vegetative barriers around that refinery, because I was told that in the past there used to be large palm trees or some type of tree around the refinery that would I guess serve as a barrier. Not sure if how long ago that was, but I wanted to see if there was interest in that. But also going back to Gabriela's point about location, she mentioned Arvin High School, which I do remember that being a location of concern and of a place where there's been pesticide drift, and then also the school on Bear Mountain. So is our next steps then to identify the growers for those for the fields next to those schools, or is it to talk to the schools to add the vegetative barriers? What would be the next step for that specifically? And then for the greening, urban greening, I assume that the location that we're talking about right now is specific to vegetative barriers. So for the urban greening, are we still looking for locations slash partners to add those, or what's the process for that? Just want to make sure that we have a clarity for between the two.
Yeah, great. I keep on saying it, but it's true. That's great feedback, Emma. And it's important, yes, to have action items and expectations. Where do we go from here? And so we're definitely we're taking note of everything that we heard here. The social pinpoint link that Eric dropped in also includes the feedback from the steering committee. I think there's definitely an ability to do research to see along those roads who would be responsible parties, and looking to develop a list of people to do outreach to about applying for the request for proposal to do some of the work. I was going to bring this up later, but I think it fits with what we're talking about right now. We're looking to host the in-person meeting on December 6th in the community. And this would probably be a good thing to for us to work on, and then bring this information back to the steering committee and discuss at that in-person meeting, if that sounds like a good idea to everyone. So what we would do is we would take the feedback. If anybody has any more feedback besides what's been shared tonight, go ahead and let us know, and then we'll look to put together a list of people that we're going to be doing outreach to on that request for proposal.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And just a couple more comments. There's one in the chat from Christine. I'm fine with all the areas getting trees, but I'm sure everyone understands how much these types of projects cost. That's why I asked about the funding, including irrigation and tree planting. 250K is limiting. You can expect the costs to be about $500 per tree planted, including irrigation. Thank you for that information. It is helpful to know, Christine. And we have one hand up from Tim. Go ahead.
Hi, when I originally suggested the vegetation barriers when we were doing the SERPs, I remember mentioning that there is programs where we could get discounted trees. So I understand the $500 for the planting, but there is programs where we could get them at a discounted price or free And then regarding the comment around the refinery, yes, there was a pine, not a pine tree, but a Nova fir and what's the other name of Douglas fir Christmas tree plants that used to grow there, but they were all wiped out by the early 90s. I don't know if the farmer that used to grow them went out of business or he just closed down, but there was a vegetation barrier that protected the communities of Lamont around the refinery. It's just that it stopped existing. And regarding the irrigation, I do have comments regarding that. If none of the partners that signed up to it for it, would there be funding available in the actual SORPs for us to do our own irrigation programs for these vegetation barriers?
That's maybe we can touch base on that, Tim, and get a little more information on what you're thinking about. So we can, kind of think about it more.
Well, I was thinking of an underground irrigation system that we can build, basically. It's not complex science. We would just need a pump, an energy source, and a large enough tank to store water that could drip water to the trees. And we would just have to refill that tank constantly.
Okay. Now let's talk about it.
Yeah. Those are great ideas, Tim. Yeah, love the ingenuity, and I think that would be probably a good conversation to have with whoever the partner ends up being, that entity that ends up applying to kind of design this program. So it is still kind of open to interpretation and community feedback. Yeah, really appreciate all of the comments that were given tonight. And again, just want to pause for a moment to see if there's anything else coming up about this before we move to some of the other CERT measures. Okay. And so I think, Ryan, maybe we can transition to the passenger vehicle repair and replacement CERT measures. Oh, you're muted.
Yep, got me again. Apologize. No, I was just saying that you're happy to have, I saw Tom Knox and Jose Marin from Valley Can, who have helped us and been great partners at running vehicle replacement and repair events, as well as our program manager and our incentives teams, Brian Dodds, who has been very involved in these programs. What I'm going to talk about is the specific Arvin Lamont passenger vehicle repair and replace programs, and I will be turning it over periodically to let Tom or Jose share with you some of the work that they have done and some of the feedback that we're looking to get from all of you on how we can kickstart this program and implement it. So with that, just kind of as a reminder, these two require the community identified project incentive program to be submitted to CARB. It was approved, and our district governing board also already took action to approve the program. Includes a passenger vehicle repair, which provides funding for repairs to vehicles. And these are the in-person events, or can be the in-person events that Mario was talking about that he saw in Bakersfield. And so the community emissions reduction program allocated or set aside specifically $360,000 for the repair measure. And then the other one is the passenger vehicle replace program. And it was one of the highly prioritized things in the community emission reduction program. And this is where people can get up to $4 million, or they set aside $4 million where people can get funding to replace an older vehicle with a newer battery electric or plug-in hybrid vehicle. So what we're hoping to do today is how to outreach these programs, get people interested and willing to participate. So a couple things. So the program specific to the Arvin Lamont community provides up to $20,000 for the purchase of a new or used battery electric or plug-in hybrid vehicle, with the replacement of an older vehicle. Some of the other companies that provide funding includes PG&E. There's incentives to install charging equipment. We're definitely looking to put together resources to help, put people or connect people with those types of programs. Additionally, there's a federal tax credit for up to $7,500 for the purchase of new qualified plug-in electric vehicle or fuel cell vehicles. There's been some recent discussions about changes to this that are supposed to take place on January 1st. We're investigating that. We're trying to understand what that means and what that would mean for the community. And so, we're still researching that, and we're hoping to bring back more information. And then the other potential source of funding is the state of California has a clean vehicle rebate project program. Now they are sunsetting that program, and so they are still currently accepting applications, but they're not guaranteeing funding for it. So this was there was a discussion about stacking different types of funding sources, and so we just wanted to kind of share what some of the potential additional funding sources would be. So we do on our website have a program or a link where you can enter information about yourself, and you can find out how much money you would get to replace a vehicle. So try to make it more simple. This is only for our program, so it doesn't pull those things from the last slide. It doesn't pull that money in as well. It's only in regards to the specific program that our organization runs. But like I said, we'll definitely try to come up with additional resources for people to also understand where they may be able to get additional funding. And so, at this point, I'll pose the questions, but then I'll turn it over to Tom or Jose to speak about it a little bit. But in regards to the vehicle repair program, participants can directly apply to the program to receive incentive funding. And this is going through the website and locating nearby participating smog shops and repair shops. But Valley Can also holds tune-in, tune-up events in CSCs within the community itself. So Mario, that's the opportunity. If that's something that the community steering committee is interested in holding in-person events, we're looking to only do the direct option or a combination of both. And so, kind of at this point, I'll turn it over to Jose or Tom to talk a little bit more about the program. If they're still here.
Hi, good evening, Ryan. Yes, this is Jose. Happy to be here and happy to see some familiar faces here from the Arvin Lamont area. Sorry about that. Still on business. So yeah, one of the things that Mario was mentioning is that we do have a tune in, tune up smog event coming up this Saturday at Kern County Fairgrounds. And we have done Arvin smog events. Matter of fact, at the Arvin High School parking lot. We were there a couple of years back. So we're very excited to come back. For those of you that have not been fortunate to meet in person, the smog events that was mentioned earlier and that we're referring to here is where we focus or direct a grassroots outreach project to bring to encourage vehicle drivers to come out to a particular location. In this instance, we have planned the tune in, tune up in Bakersfield at the Kern County Fairgrounds. So vehicles line up as early as 6:30 in the morning for a free smog check. The vehicle fails, they get a $500 voucher that goes to repair the car so that it's tested for smog and it passes according to what the state has established as being below the requirement. As far as the, and I'll be available for questions as well, Ryan, if it's okay with you. As far as the replacement of the vehicles, we are holding vehicle retirement and replacement workshops throughout the valley. Again, we're excited to come back to Arvin. We just opened up again our caseload. So we're going to be coming to the popular pizza in town at Bear Mountain at the beginning of next month. And we're also excited to make the AB 617 process work, be successful for these lovely communities that have always been very welcoming to Valley Can. So yeah, I'd be happy to answer any questions that come up if it's okay with you, Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah, so on the first point would just be on the repair program. Hearing about the direct program and the in-person program, is there a particular preference from the steering committee on what's going to be best for the community? Is it looking to do the kind of direct model where people just identify the closest participating smog repair shop and they can take their own car in whenever they want? Or is it, would it benefit having a in-person event where people can come? We've also used these as opportunities to share information about other district programs, and it could also be used to maybe provide some other type of AB 617 thing like an air filter or something like that. Or is it a combination of both? So want to hear from all of you on what you think will be most successful in getting as many people to participate as possible.
Thank you both. I do see some questions and comments. We can start with Mario.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we should have one here in Lamont, but the one problem that I'm having is that there's no information coming out. It's kind of hard for information for the people to know these programs exist. And not only that, I see that just certain locations are doing these programs, and I feel that we need to give more information to Lamont and Arvin about what's going on with these programs, that they could join us for these programs, because a lot of people here, they don't get a lot of information, and we need to get to figure out something to give out information, make sure they could go to these programs. We need information, because the problem is that if they didn't put nothing on Lamont community, I wouldn't even know these programs existed. And I would just want to say thank you to Jose Perez, because he's the one that put it on there. Yeah. We just need more information like that. We could know what's out there. Thank you.
Yeah, great point that, a big part of this is also the outreach to the community, and definitely have to remember that in planning for these events. So yeah, that's definitely a conversation I'm sure we'll come back to, Mario. We do have a couple other hands raised. We can go to Jesus.
May I address
Oh.
that, Liz, real quick, just to
Yeah.
ask Mr. Mario, if he has any alternative ideas. I can definitely share some of our local partners in the community of Arvin and Lamont that disperse our information. Would you like to hear that, or should we hear from him what outlets he feels would work best to disperse information?
This type of information, it'd be nice if you could get them on the radio. I mean, because I was trying to get a electronic billboard right here in Lamont, but seeing that we ain't gonna get it because so many reasons. Because the information is key, and and if we don't have information, we can't get the what we're doing out there. And the thing is that billboards, maybe talk to the Spanish radio, newscasts, or maybe pay for an announcement, on TV. Because right now there's really not much information they can pull out there just in a certain way.
Yeah, thank you, Mario. That's very valuable for us, coming into the area and doing, these type of grassroots events. We do partner with like the local parish there, St. Thomas in Arvin. We also, are very heavy partnership with Community Action Partnership. And then on the media outlets, of course, Radio Lobo, Radio Gallito 1010, La Caliente, all those stations do support our events, La Campesina, the new station, La Que Buena. They're all promoting our event for this Saturday. And they also do the same for us. They're very generous in Kern County, I may say. Jose Perez is a very good friend of ours as well with the Lamont community, and he always shares about our community calendar posts. So yeah, thank you so much. Very valuable input, Mario.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you both. I see we can go to Jesus.
Awesome, thank you. I had a couple questions. The first one, would you be and sorry if you already shared it on the chat, be able to share that equation program that Ryan, you were talking about, and then to determine how much you would qualify for. And my question there is that to qualify for the Vatican or the Air District's car replacement program, or to qualify for the AB 617 Lamont Arvin program? Or is it both? Are they, is it the same qualifications or same, the qualifications?
Yeah, hey, so I'll drop the link in and I will have to check. I'm not sure if it's been updated. Usually we do have it like we've incorporated the different communities into the calculators. And I think we were going to do this. I just don't know if we've done it yet.
So, hey, Ryan, the calculator will show up to $12,000 incentive, which is the incentive for like across the valley for anybody. The additional incentive up to $20,000, since we're talking to the communities at this point to get some feedback about implementation, that will be incorporated as we formally launch the the program. The requirements are identical though in terms of how to participate. So it's really the same program. The difference is that through the AB 617 funding that you guys identified here, we can provide a little bit more money if you're purchasing a new car. The incentives for the used vehicles are identical to the incentives that we have in the Valley-wide program.
Got it. Thank you for that. And I believe was this the meeting where we were going to talk about the potentially changing some requirements to increase the number of people eligible for this program? And I go back to the idea of stacking the incentives. You know, having the goal be still 20,000 or up to 20,000, and just stacking the Valley Can with AB 617. That way, kind of stretching the dollar of the AB 617 so that more people qualify.
So Jesus, the Valley Can funds is actually district. So that's Valley Can runs the district program. And so I think I understand what you're talking about now in regards to the replace program and stacking. So what we can't do is we can't stack district funds on district funds for programs. So, you know, what we did in working with the community, you know, was identify the need to increase the incentive amount. And so, like Brian said, it got raised from 12,000 to 8,000 or 20,000 for the Arvin Lamont community. But there are some additional funding sources that, you know, are potentially available, and that you can stack those. And so we're looking to put together a resource that would cover what additional stacking resources. And, you know, in addition to that, I think most car dealerships are familiar with all these, you know, different funding sources. And they would also, in most cases we have found, also help, you know, people with that program.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't know the district funds could not stack with one another. So then, okay, then I guess I'm a bit confused in where, so then I don't know, sorry, we've been talking about this for a while, so I think I need to, I guess, wrap my head around that.
Okay.
So I'll probably jump in at a later time.
Okay, and we're happy to talk about it with you more too, and make sure it's clear to you, you know, what would be available to anybody, and you know, you could maybe help us with some of the resources for the community along with others.
I guess, sorry, I guess what I'm thinking is if we since we cannot stack them, then we do not need to hold the AB 617 to the same standard as the Valley Can one, right? We can change the requirements so that, you know, it could be older vehicles or it could be outside of the low income requirement. And if so, if we can do those changes, are we doing those changes or having that discussion today? And if not today, when are we having that discussion?
Well, ideally, what we would do is, so the way that it was designed and the way that we talked about it in the development of the community emission reduction program was initially giving more money, trying to make this program more available to people that wouldn't otherwise be able to participate in it, and really focus the funding in, you know, towards those people. And, you know, ideally what we would do is we'd open up a program, see what the interest level is, and then maybe in 4 or 5 months down the road, if we're not seeing participation in it, and we're not, you know, the people that we were initially trying to focus on, who would, you know, have the most need and would probably benefit the most from, you know, this program. And then at that point, if we're not seeing it, then yeah, absolutely bring it back, and then we could, you know, have further discussions about it. But looking to at least start with, having a program, focusing the funds on people that are most in need, and trying to get them into, a newer vehicle. But real quick, because I want to open up the conversation on the vehicle replacement, but I just wanted to really quickly finish on the repair.
Yeah.
Is everybody comfortable with kind of doing both methods, doing the direct and the in-person? Do you want us to only focus on the direct or only focus on the in-person, or is there a preference one way or another?
I don't want to
Yeah.
jump out of line, but that was my question. I actually have more questions about that.
About the vehicle repair, Emma?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. I see Bianca, you have your hand up. Is your question or comment about the vehicle repair program?
For both, I kind of agree a little bit on what Jesus was mentioning. If we can't raise the standards for community members to participate, then we do have a lot of members that are not in the ratio but the low income and would want to participate in these programs because they're accessible to them. I think we should go back and see if the blueprint does gives us the flexibility of changing these programs, because we do have community members that maybe are not working or that are working and are middle class and would like to participate. I also wanted to add the idea of using the schools. I know in the past the Air District has used the schools to announce their events. I have my daughter in the Arvin school, and I got messages from like the Harvest Festival that is happening in Lamont. So there's accessibilities where they're able to send that information out. There's a lot of ways to do it. I think the Air District should talk to community members or do a questionnaire of how they receive the information, because we keep bringing that focus point that we need to do more advocacy, but the advocacy is there. I think we should just address how residents view their information. That could be based on their Facebook. There's Facebook posts. There's also, as I mentioned, the schools that we do the parent portal or oh my God, Parent Square. That's where we get that information. So there's many ways that we're able to pass that information out. And I did participate in the past in the one that the Air District did do in Arvin High, and it was a very good event. I did appreciate that from the Air District, but I like the idea that Ryan was mentioning of adding more information for community members, or maybe having members sign up for the air purifier. So I think adding those could help community learn about the Air District programs and ask more questions. And I did see a lot of Air District folks that time, so it would be nice to have them do that extra advocacy for the programs that are already here in the Arvin and Lamont area.
Thank you, Bianca. A lot of really important points. I'm hearing more about how are folks in the community getting the information. If we know how, then that would be great for us to kind of design our outreach methods around, how people are already getting their information. I hear support for an in-person meeting, and I think in the chat see more support from others to have that in-person vehicle repair event. Some suggestions to have that in Lamont. And then other questions for the community about whether there are any locations within Lamont or others within the boundary that could host around 500 cars. So an important piece to keep in mind as we are trying to suggest some locations. But I see we also have a couple other hands up, so we can go to Emma.
Thanks. I'll try to be fast. So just want to make sure the two options are that there's an event, or the other option would be that residents would go to qualified mechanic shops to get the voucher, right? And then have the option, I guess, to leave their car there and get it fixed at that location, I assume?
Hey, can I just clarify that question, Emma? I think that's a really good question. So yes, the two options would be we have an in-person event somewhere in the community. The second option, which has worked really well over the last few years, you actually call Valley Can staff and they provide information on sort of where to go at one of our participating smog shops and give you a voucher. And then you take that information kind of to where you've been more, one of the closest shops. So the Valley Can will work with you to identify a shop that you can take it into. But it's not just kind of like dropping it off without some sort of like pre-approval, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've been to these things and they are helpful.
Yeah.
But they also,
And then sorry, Emma, I didn't really mean to interrupt, but I think the overall goal is that we could do one of those or both of them together to give people kind of lots of flexibility in how they can participate. Because even if we have an event in the community, somebody may not be able to show up on that particular day. So having the option to call in gives people lots of different ways that they can participate.
okay. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that the second way, if not an event, it may make it more inaccessible if folks don't know about it, to Mario's and Bianca's points. And so I think having both would be helpful so that residents have the opportunity to go on a different day if they can't attend it. I know sometimes folks have to ask for the whole day off from work because it does take the whole day. And so I also wanted to ask for the funding. I think that's what you were trying to explain, Ryan, but I was also a little confused. So I know this is a program that the Air District already has, right? So the difference between the program that the Air District has and the program that's being funded through AB 617 is the $800 difference. Is that the difference, or is it just that there's more of or the number of people that will be able to be served by this program has increased? What's the difference between the original program and this program?
Well, for this one, the difference is the funding for this is only for this community. That's the primary one. And then also just the outreach and the work with the CSC on making the program more available to Arvin, Lamont, and adjacent communities of for the program. So that's the biggest change to it, is just really focusing this program and hopefully getting a lot of people to participate and use it, and for everybody's benefit.
Okay, thank you for clarifying. I think with that, then I do highly support the idea of having one in Lamont so that it's also closer to Fuller Acre residents and other folks around that area. But Mario and other residents from Lamont, I would defer to you all in terms of where to have the event. I know there's like a little remate on Wheat Patch that's north or south of the refinery. Maybe that would be a good place to have it, but it could also hold up traffic on the on that street. So anyway, I would defer to other folks. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. And I see we have another hand from Joanna.
Oh, nada más tenía una opinión para hacerlo de lo que estaban hablando del carro. La high school es el mejor lugar para aquí, para Arvin, la verdad. Y no estaría parando tráfico ni nada. Porque se hace la vuelta así toda como para el lado de la iglesia y no para el tráfico. y tenía una pregunta de los carros que vamos a entregar. ¿No se podría hacer un poquito, no sé si todavía se pueda, los años como un poquito más? Porque pues, estamos hablando de 18 años, ¿verdad? Del 2006. ¿No se podría extenderlo un poquito más para la gente que quiera cambiar? Porque un 2010 ya estás hablando de un carro de 13 años, ya está también bien viejito. No sé si se pueda cambiar todavía algo así o no. No
Yeah,
sé si van a mi pregunta.
It it's a really good question. And right now, recently, just a few years ago, we expanded eligibility to be 2006 and older. It was 1999 and older. And we've seen just a tremendous demand based on increasing those model years. And there really is a difference as you go newer than 2006 in the emissions that those newer cars have compared to even 2006 and older. And that's why we kind of established that at this point, is because those 2006 and older cars are a lot dirtier than cars that are newer than that. So if we're looking for emission reductions, you get the best sort of bang for your buck by focusing on some of those older cars, which at this point there hasn't been a shortage of those types of cars. I think Brian's suggestion is a good one to see, if we start with some criteria and we're not getting enough demand or we're missing a big segment, we can go back and evaluate that. But we've had a lot of success with that model year change up to 2006 and older.
Thank you.
Thank you. We can go to Mario.
Yeah, I just want to know on the repair thing. How about for the caliber converter? Because they stole mine from my Honda. Do they replace those or how that goes?
I can let Valley Can talk a little bit more about that, but catalytic converters is one of the big issues that we have. A lot of those go bad or get stolen or something along those lines. We can kind of look at that on, we can work with you on some of that, but that is an emissions related issue for sure on a vehicle that doesn't have a catalytic converter.
Yeah, well, they stole it and I called the cops, but they never came by. Yeah. All right, I'll investigate, find out.
Yeah, Mario, maybe if you want to send me your info in the chat or pass it along somehow, we can get it to Valley Can and have them follow up with you for sure.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Mario, I'm also going to drop in the chat our 800 number that has a Spanish-speaking live operators from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. and they'd be happy to help you with that as well. So I'll drop that on the chat.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jose.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. And we have another question or comment from Jesus.
Yes, it sounds to me like there is interest in changing the requirements for this AB 617 Lamont Arvin program, car replacement program. What would be the steps that needed to be taken in order for the steering committee to decide what requirements or what the requirements should be for their program or for our program?
Yeah, I can cover that. Jesus, let me just wrap up the conversation on the replace and then shift it over to on the repair, and then we'll shift over to replace real quick. Maybe Liz, and we can just ask for people. It sounded like people were interested in kind of looking at both. So maybe if people can just give a thumbs up or indicate that the support for moving forward with, kind of running both programs, the direct and then looking to set up an in-person. So maybe people could just, show of thumbs or hands or.
Maybe what we can do is, so if anybody is opposed to moving forward with both the direct and in-person event options together, please raise your hand. Yeah, Diana, go ahead.
Sí, buenas tardes. No, nomás quería hacer el comentario sobre para el evento. Creo que pienso yo en lo personal que el mejor lugar sí sería, como menciona Bianca ahorita en el chat, que ya se ha hecho, disculpen, mi nieta está llorando, en el chat, que ya se ha hecho en Arvin, en la high school. So, yo también pienso que sería un buen lugar, porque de lo contrario, si buscáramos lugares que están cerca, como aquí en Lamont, si vamos a ocupar el 184 o si vamos a ocupar las calles que son de condado, eso requiere permisos. Y son permisos que se llevan mucho tiempo. Y si ya lo han hecho ahí en Arvin High, sería una buena idea que investigaran. Y creo que residentes de Arvin, Full of Acres y Whitpage podrían ir para allá. Pienso yo, no sé, pero porque sé que para sacar los permisos para las calles sí ocupan un poco de requerimientos y de tiempo.
Thank you. And a couple more hands up, we can go to Emma.
Sorry, just wanted to clarify, I'm not suggesting changing the Arvin location. I'm suggesting having an event in Lamont as well, so that it's more accessible to other residents. Sorry for the confusion, but yeah, I'm not suggesting changing the Arvin location. And I also defer to residents from Lamont Fuller Acres if that is more appropriate to have the two events or just the one event in Arvin.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. And I see one hand up from iPhone. Could you let us know your name as well with your comment?
Hola, mi nombre es María Martínez y mi comentario añadiendo un poco a lo que menciona Emma, yo pienso que también sería necesario que hubiera un evento cerca de Lamont y el Fuller Acre, porque también hay una iglesia ahí por el 184, por el Whitpage, allí pegado casi a la refinería hay una iglesia grande. No sé si se pudiera tal vez usar esa iglesia para hacerlo, hablando con las personas que son dueñas de la iglesia, porque tiene un parqueadero bastante grande. Ese es mi comentario.
Yeah, thank you for adding that. And a lot of suggestions around the location, and I think I'm not hearing any opposition to having both options available. So I think we can move forward with that as the decision for the CSC. And maybe before we switch gears a little, Ryan, could you share a little more about next steps for how the locations will be decided upon, if there would be more opportunities for community feedback after this?
Yeah, we will definitely engage the community on events. We typically get in communities this size between 150 and 200 cars. So we and typically, like what Jose was saying, there's usually a lot of people that kind of wait in queue. So we do need, typically quite a bit of space in order to accommodate for that. And so we will, be looking at places to recommend, for this and, getting feedback on that. So thank everybody for their feedback, and, happy to open that up. And Brian, I don't know about timelines for the direct program, or Jose or Tom, like when that may start, but then like I said, we'll have to do some looking to, see. It would definitely, like they said, we've used Arvin High School in the past, but, in regards to other locations where they may be able to hold them, we could still look to see what may be suitable and may be available.
Ryan, this is Jose. Thank you. We look to you, the Air District, for your timeline. We'll adjust to it.
Okay, thank you. I'll transition over. So there was one slide remaining, and I'll get to Jose's question.
Oh, Ryan, and while you transition, one question just popped up. Since this is an AB 617 event, does that mean residents outside of the boundary are not eligible?
That's a good question. It is an AB 617. People participating in it should be from the community.
Does that answer, Emma, your question? Okay, thank you.
So the last slide, this was also a question. So, we're looking for feedback on the Replace program. Jose talked about it. They look for places within the community to hold evening events where they invite people to come sit down with them. They share information about themselves, the vehicle that they drive, and Valley Canyon does a tremendous job at assisting them all the way through the process if they're eligible. And so what we were hoping to get was some feedback from the steering committee on like where are some places within the community that would be good to host these types of events. And like I said, they typically focus on restaurant areas where, as you see in the picture, they set up computers and they have bilingual staff available to walk people through and discuss the program with people. And so we'll take people's feedback on that. In regards to what Jesus said, one of the things, there's opportunity to make amendments to programs. I mean, we've done it everywhere. The thing I want to talk about here with you is this, initially was, focused on people most in need, and, trying to get, who oftentimes don't have the ability to participate in any programs. And, ideally what we could do is open up the program, give an opportunity for those people that may not otherwise ever be able to participate in a program like this. And, if we're not seeing, participation by those people, then to bring it back to the steering committee and then look to broaden it and make it more available to more community members. But at least in the beginning, focusing these funds on, people who, before the CSC recommended the higher incentive funding would never be able to participate in these programs. And that was something that we heard about when we were putting together the community emissions reduction program, was finding ways to allow people to participate in programs that they haven't historically been able to. So what we would say is, or strongly recommend, is let's open up the program with the requirements now, let it run for a period of time, and then bring it back to the steering committee and see if there needs to be changes that need to be done to get more people to participate. So Jesus, that there would be opportunity, but like I said, let's, at least in the beginning, focus on the people that wouldn't otherwise be able to participate in this program at all. So at this point, I'll turn it over for feedback from the steering committee members on, if they have any questions, and then also if they have feedback on where some of these events can be held, to get, to educate people on the program and, have Valley Can assist them if they're eligible.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. So I think the main question is, as we see on the slide here, like where in the community would be good and accessible for folks to come and have these workshops where Valley can do that outreach and really help residents take advantage of this program. We do have a couple hands up, so we can start with Gabriela.
Sí, mi pregunta es, ¿este programa es solamente para cambiar el carro si tú tienes un carro que califique en el tiempo que se puso? ¿O este programa también aplica si yo quisiera comprar un carro nuevo, eléctrico?
This program would just be to replace an existing vehicle that's operating with either a plug-in hybrid or a battery electric vehicle.
Yeah, we also run a separate program. It wasn't an AB 617 program, but if you do purchase a electric vehicle or a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, there is an ability to get funding for that program, and the amount varies. I think is it 2,500, Brian, is the most you can receive?
It's up to about 3,000 for a battery electric, 2,000 for plug-in hybrid. So that's what we have for the rebate program.
Yeah, and this program focuses on replacing the older, most polluting vehicles in communities, and then we found there's a really big benefit from getting these localized emission, higher polluting vehicles out of the community by replacing them with electric or battery electric. So.
Gracias.
Yeah, thank you. Great question. I'm also noticing the time. We're at 6:51. Just want to bring that to people's attention, but yeah, don't want to stop the conversation. So would love to invite Jesus.
Thank you. And thank you, Ryan, for your comments earlier as well. I think if, since it's a program of the steering committee, the AB 617 steering committee, the committee should, decide whether or not we want to keep it as is, just like the Valley Can program for the next 6 months, and then review the results and determine whether or not to change it at that point, or decide now at the beginning, prior to, the release of it, to change the requirements. And I think that's a decision the steering committee should be able to make. And my question then is, again, how do we start that process?
Yeah, so one of the things, Jesus, I mean, we can definitely have the conversation. We worked together on a community emissions reduction program, and we kind of outlined what the measure looked like. And that was a discussion that we had with the whole steering committee. In regards about how the program would be opened up and would be launched. Granted, time has gone by since that process started, but I mean, it was voted on unanimously on what that program would look like. So, we submitted a project plan to the California Air Resources Board on it. They approved it. If we were to make changes, we have to go back to the California Air Resources Board they would have to review it. They have to sign off on it as well. And so, yeah, we wouldn't look to probably start this again. I don't know how many months down the road. And then it would have to go back before our board. So it'd be a pretty long process in order to change it.
Yeah, Jesus, if I could maybe also just review the eligibility criteria as provide a little bit more info, I suppose, if that would be helpful for the discussion. There's really just a couple key criteria for the program right now. You have to have a 2006 and older car, has to be operational, you have to have a driver's license, and the other portion of it that I think there may be some questions on is related to the income qualification. So right now, the established criteria is that you have to be at or equal 300% of the federal poverty level. To provide a little bit of context, in order to meet that income requirement for a family of 4, it's about $90,000 a year. For a family of 5, it's about $100,000. So for each person, it adds about $10,000 to the annual income. And I think that was one of the questions that may have come up along the way, is kind of like, what is the income? And what we don't want to do for sure, Jesus, is exclude people who would want to participate. And we want to be able to help people out. What we don't also want to do is allow people into a program that maybe it wasn't necessarily designed for them. Maybe their income is too high. Maybe a family of 4 making $130,000, that, you know, one might suggest that they could get the car on their own. So just to provide a little bit of context, I don't know if that's helpful or not as far as what the income qualifications actually are. But the program really is designed, as Ryan said, to kind of meet the needs of people who might not otherwise be able to get into these types of vehicles and really deploy electric vehicles in communities and in residents that are most in need.
Thank you for that. And I think going back to when we first passed this, I remember we said that there would be an opportunity for us to change the requirements. We passed it with that caveat. We passed it with the understanding that we would be able to discuss stacking. We would be able to discuss changing requirements. And so now we're being told that we cannot stack and we cannot change requirements.
Well, yeah, I think they're like, yeah, and unfortunately, I think, you know, understanding of terminology, the things that people say, is sometimes, you know, what I say is confusing to people, and I think sometimes what I hear is confusing to me, Jesus. So when we're talking about stacking, my misunderstanding, and this is my problem, I should have asked for further clarification on this, was there's a lot of different funding sources for electric vehicles right now. There's state funding, there's federal funding, there's our funding. So when you're talking about stacking, that's in my mind, and you know, how I'm working with our team is like, okay, what are all those other funding sources? Because there are a lot of funding sources out there for people right now, and that is stacking. You know, by taking those other grants and also being able to use it, that is stacking. So you know, apologize if there was confusion, you know, on our part in that regard, but there's a lot of funding available right now that can be stacked. So I just want everybody to understand that there is stacking opportunities. It's just, you know, it's not, you know, we have a program that provides money for replacing cars. We can't then take, you know, the like funding intended for the same purpose and then add that on.
Hi, everyone. This is Amy. Just to clarify, Ryan, so that we can make sure that everyone understands this concept of stacking. What you are saying is that, if I'm understanding you correctly, that the criteria to allow for stacking is that if the funds are coming from a different agency whether it be within the state or the federal incentive measure, one is able to stack the different funding sources to accumulate those funds to get a larger amount to purchase the vehicle or replace the vehicle. However, if the funding is coming from the same entity, in this case from the air district, that is the same source there, therefore you would not be able to stack, money that's coming from the air district through AB 617, money that's coming bundled through the air district for your regular operating cost, essentially coming from the same entity. That is what is not allowed. So at the end of the day, residents have the opportunity, thumbs up, to do stacking when the funding is coming from different programs outside of the air district. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And apologize, I didn't, it didn't occur. I know, from the beginning, I've talked about stacking the Valley Can and the AB 617. And so I think at some point in time, that was not connected. But like Emma said, I see in the comments that we also, she also remembers that there was a delay on the requirements. We did not vote on the requirements. And we were told that that would be held off until later. And I know I bring it up just about every other meeting when we're going to talk about second, where we're going to talk about the requirements. And now we're being told that we cannot change the requirements. And it sounds like there is interest from the steering committee to at the very least vote on changing the requirements now or waiting and to see how this program does, being exactly like the Valley Can program.
Yeah, what we can do, definitely with, we're hitting 7 o'clock. I don't feel comfortable taking a vote. What we could do is definitely, sit down together, Jesus, and talk about what you're thinking, what the concerns that you have about the program that we're talking about. And we can, if there are other people interested, we can have a, kind of a side discussion about it.
And what outcome would we see from that? And I think, again, I would like to bring it back to having the steering committee vote, because I have my ideas and the steering committee might have completely different ideas, which is why I think if we put it before the committee to decide, what the requirements should be,
and
that would have a better reflection of what the community wants.
Okay. Yeah, and in order to do that, what we've learned from in the past, Jesus, is the community wants to see structured things, and so by having that conversation, we can structure it more. Like, we can outline the things that we're hearing from you, and we can invite other CSC members who are interested in it. That way, when we do bring it back, we have slides and other things to present the information to them. So that's what I'm looking to do.
And so before starting this, moving forward with this program, then we would be going over, seeing what kind of requirements the committee wants to see, and then the steering committee will take a vote on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're good to move forward with the repair, and we can talk about the replace. So we'll look to set up a side discussion on that with interested CSC members.
Yeah.
Okay, the last, I know it's very important, and we want to, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. We did hit 7 o'clock. I can probably run through the annual report in probably less than 10 minutes. What we were hoping to do is just present it to the steering committee, so that way they have a general understanding with how we took the kind of the experiences and applied them to the document, and would then look to, take feedback, and, we're willing to meet with CSC members to, walk them through it if they want, outside of the CSC meetings, and to work with you and to take the CSC member feedback on the annual report. But I wanted to, are people okay with that, or at this time, would the committee like to end the meeting, and we can just take feedback from CSC members once they've had a chance to review the document. Let's see, Bianca.
I think Joanna was first. I don't know if you want to do her question first.
Okay, Joanna.
Oye, nada más tenía un comentario para Jesús. Jesús, tuvimos un año para proponer eso y no lo hicimos, y ahora sí tenemos que respetar que el del 2006 y con los que ellos pusieron se haga eso, y no nos están diciendo que no lo podemos cambiar. Nada más el señor que me contestó la pregunta dijo que nos esperemos a como está ahorita, del 2006 para abajo, y con los requisitos que ellos pusieron, y ya después ya lo vamos a hacer a como nosotros lo estamos pidiendo, pero tuvimos un año y no lo pensamos. Necesitamos que respetar eso.
Sí, gracias, Joana. Y es algo que hablé con Ryan y en varias juntas con ellos, de que necesitamos que hablar de los requisitos, o si no va a ser una copia de un programa que existe. Y si es una copia de un programa que existe, entonces no aumenta el número de gente que está que está disponible a recibir estos incentivos. Nomás todo se queda igual como es ahorita. Pero sí, gracias otra vez por su comentario. Creo que se oye como vamos a tener que, pues ahora vamos a tener que esperar hasta que nos den la oportunidad otra vez de hablar de los requisitos. Espero que esta vez no nos hagan esperar otro año.
Yo sé a mi hijo, y disculpa, pero nosotros tuvimos la culpa, no le pusimos atención a lo que, a hacer las cosas como las teníamos que hacer, ni modo.
No, Joana, tenemos chance de cambiar lo que es los requerimientos del proyecto, y eso es lo que estamos peleando, no peleando, sino simplemente dialogando con el distrito, que quieren hacerlo de su manera al programa que ya tienen existentemente. So, eso es lo que se está pasando al momento. Sorry, I'm speaking in Spanish, but I'll explain it to you in a little bit. No sé si le entendió eso, Joana.
Sí, mi hija, pero como te repito, tuvimos un año y no lo hicimos. Es nuestra culpa también como equipo que fuimos. Y ahora tenemos que respetar lo que ellos ya tienen, y no nos están diciendo que no, sino que están diciendo que dejemos que pase a como está ellos del 2006 para abajo, y ya después ya nos van a dar chance de cambiar todo en equipo, como lo tuvimos que hacer.
Como ahorita todavía el proyecto, disculpe. Como ahorita todavía el proyecto no está abierto a la comunidad, tenemos la oportunidad de hacer esa dialogación con el distrito. So, es lo que les iba a preguntar ahorita, porque nosotros como parte del comité, pues sí hicimos la aprobación, pero como dijo Jesús, hay oportunidad de dialogar en cómo van a ser los requerimientos, porque hay gente que no pueda tener todos los requisitos, pero pues tenemos la flexibilidad de agregar más al proyecto. No nomás sea un proyecto que el distrito ya tenga puesto, sino que podemos ayudarle a agregar un poquito más para ese proyecto que les pueda ayudar a la comunidad que está aquí. So I actually have a comment. I don't know if I'm able to speak on my comment, Brian.
Bianca, I was scrolling through the chat. I don't know if I missed your comment somewhere along the way.
So, what my comment is, as Jesus was mentioning, if we're able to have that conversation, 617 is not meant for programs that are already existing by the Air District. I think this is a new platform to incentivize programs that we're not being able to use in these disadvantaged communities to uplift them. And I do agree with Jesus was mentioning that there's an opportunity to have a dialogue, change the requirements for these programs. And if we're not able to do it, then this program is not working for the community.
Yeah.
I think we should really go back and talk about the requirements, because a lot of these community members are not going to be able to participate because you guys have the standards so extremely high that you're not able to participate. So I think we should have that dialogue, and the Air District should not implement their programs that CARB already had for them designated, or the Air District already had designated for the Valley-wide. It should change, because being a 617 program, this is a disadvantaged community, and as a disadvantaged community, we're able to emphasize these programs that could help the air in the area.
I agree.
Yeah.
Hey, Bianca, just one thing I definitely want to share. This is not the program that we typically run. The program we typically run, you can only get $12,000 to replace the vehicle. So it is substantially different than our existing program. Not in regards to like the requirements of how it runs, I get that. But one of the biggest barriers for people participating was the funding amount. And in trying to develop a program where you're going to get people in underserved, under-resourced communities the ability to participate, we heard you loud and clear that was the biggest hurdle, was the funding amount. And so we looked at what the cost of cars were, and we heard what the steering committee members recommended, and so that's where that $20,000 came from. That's not available for people outside of the 8617. That is only for this community, and that's definitely one of the biggest changes, and which will make it more available, and more people will have the ability to participate because of that, and because of the recommendations from the CSC. So definitely want to make sure. And it's 7:10 right now. I'm guessing people have been here over 2 hours now. Really appreciate everybody's time. But I think what we can offer is time for people to get together with us and talk about the annual report, and we can get together one-on-one as groups, to walk people through the annual report itself. And if they have any questions, we can provide clarification. Otherwise, we'll look to get feedback from everybody. Eric, I can't remember the exact date that we were asking for feedback.
November 22nd, Ryan. That is on a Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah, so just to clarify, Ryan, hi everyone, this is Amy again. So we do have the annual report that was sent out via email, and I see Bianca has requested a hard copy of the annual report draft. I think folks that are on the list to receive the hard copy, Eric and the Air District will be sending out the hard copy. So this is the annual report that demonstrates and celebrates all of the work that you all have accomplished this last year. So it's really important that you guys take a look at it and provide the Air District with some feedback to best represent all of the work that you have been doing and have accomplished. So as Ryan mentioned, there will be opportunities for you all to meet one-on-one if you would like, or have a group of you meet with folks from the Air District to provide your feedback. Or if you want to email the Air District, you can determine how you would like to submit that feedback. But I do think it's important that you ensure that your voices are included in the annual report, because it does represent your achievements from this last year. I do see it's 7:12, but before we conclude, I just want to make one point of clarification, because I'm a little bit confused as your facilitator. So just want to make sure that if I'm confused, there might be somebody else confused as well. So for the record, Ryan from the Air District, it sounds like the current program that we have, if we go back a step to the vehicle replacement program, the program that was approved by you all and customized with your input included in the CERP is not a replica of the standard program that the Air District offers for the General Valley. I see some nodding heads from Heather, so that is a confirmation that these programs are different and they were customized based on your input. My second point of clarification, because I'm trying to write notes here and clarify for my understanding as well, is that the discussion is about changing some of the requirements. Those requirements are not about stacking, because the stacking, there's rules around stacking because of where the funding is coming from. But the requirement changes could be about eligibility, how much income someone makes, how much you get from the actual measure. So different types of eligibility requirements. And so there might be an opportunity to change that. What I hear the Air District asking for is, can we implement the measure as is right now based on what you all recommended to make it different from what the Air District typically does? And then at a later time, while it's being implemented, you would have an opportunity to modify. That's what I'm hearing as a distinction. Just wanted to summarize that to see if there's any other point of clarification that the Air District can make, or if I completely misunderstood that and confused people even more.
I understood there was a pause up until the requirements were determined by the steering committee.
So you all want to pause and not continue to implement as is, as what you all voted on, because that pause is the decision point. So I want to make sure that that's Jesus, what you're asking, but is that what the committee wants?
Well, that's why I was asking for there to be a vote. But it sounds to me from this meeting that there will be a pause up until we make decisions on the requirement.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what we talked about having, we could set up another discussion.
So that will be the second action item, to continue to discuss these things.
Yeah.
And I just want to bring to your attention that we will be having an in-person meeting on December 6th. So that might be an opportunity to continue these discussions as well. Okay, any other points of clarification, Ryan, before we kind of wrap up the meeting?
I'm sorry, what was that? I was reading the chat comment.
Any other points of clarification before we wrap up for tonight?
Are there any additional? Sorry, I had my computer broke up there.
I just wanted to ask if there's any other points of clarification before we wrap up today's meeting.
Okay, I didn't have any other.
Okay, great. Well, I'm checking on our live feed and I'm not seeing additional questions on our live feed. Want to make sure that for tonight, our questions are answered. So we do have some action items and we will send those out via email to be respectful of your time. Liz, if I could have you just share the screen for our next meeting, that's okay. And while I'm doing that, we do have just one moment for public comment. I don't know if anyone from the public has any general questions, comments at this time.
Yo sí tengo uno, mija. Tenemos la meeting para el 6 de diciembre en un lunes. No sé si todos tengan la opinión que yo, ¿verdad? Pero ¿no sería mejor los viernes? Porque así el viernes uno sale del trabajo y puede estar hasta el tiempo que se termine la meeting, ¿verdad? Hasta la noche, y ya el sábado uno descansa, no sé, ¿verdad?
Sí, so the agenda setting meeting is on November 2nd at 4. And then we will have our next in-person meeting on December 6th, which Joanna, I think December 6th is a Wednesday, not a Monday. Is that right? Yeah, I'm seeing nodding heads, Joanna.
Ay, disculpa, hija, no te oí. Es que estaba un ruido aquí en la computadora, disculpa.
No, no, it's okay. It might be my computer. So December 6th is a Wednesday. So the
Lo
way
vi el lunes, pero de todos modos mi comentario no sé si pudiera a mí tomarse mi opinión para mi familia, ¿verdad? En mi opinión, los viernes sería perfecto porque pues ya uno sale de trabajar y se va a la meeting y ya pues, uno le puede dar vuelo a la meeting hasta que se pase, termine y eso ya el sábado uno descansa.
Thank you so much. That's a great suggestion. So what I encourage you all to come and kind of talk about that at the agenda setting meeting. And we can have that discussion. So for today, we'll just leave it at the agenda setting meeting is November 2nd at 4 via Zoom. We'll talk about next steps and talk about planning the meeting for December 6th, which right now is scheduled to be in person. But I'm listening to Joanna's suggestion, so we'll make sure to discuss that at the agenda setting meeting. And with that said, we will ensure that you get the documents and the announcements that were discussed today via email. And if you requested hard copies, that will also be made available to you. For now, I just want to really thank you for all of your questions and all of the suggestions that you have made tonight. And I appreciate you all staying over 20 minutes. Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Mija, yo tengo una pregunta. Tuve muchos problemas con mi internet.